Okay, so welcome back to the Pleasure Project with Dr. Jenn Kennedy. Today, my guest is Roylin Downs. She educates and empowers women to own their sexuality and enhance their relationships. She removes judgment related to sexuality and espouses a philosophy of an orgasm a day. Roylin opened Trystology, which is an online store and now a brick and mortar store that's a boutique based in Ventura, California. In 2009, Trystology is recognized in the industry as a leader and innovator in the budding trend of female-friendly, couple-friendly, discreet, and high-end sensual toys for passionate play. So welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I remember learning about you during COVID, and it was like really hard to get into your store because of all the, it's like when you're in person, it's hard to navigate all that. And so I know it was appointments and all that kind of stuff. So you guys have kind of weathered all that storm.
We
So
did, and
tell
it
me,
was it was
yeah,
fun during COVID to be able to meet people and bring little bags out to the street, and it was a different time for sure.
right? It was like people are at home and they were needing some toys and some play, and yeah.
Yep, yep.
Um, so let's start first of all, just give me a little snapshot of your history. Like, how did you come into this business, and which came first, the brick and mortar or the online?
So I actually fell into this business because I was uncomfortable with the shopping environment available to women. And I actually made an appointment with myself. I got my first toy at a in-home party, and I was just
Mhm.
mortified because the gal would like bring you like little things and say, okay, go, this is clit cream. So go put this on in the bathroom. And I was like, and all of these other things. And I was like, oh my God. So when my toy broke, I needed to go get a new one. And so I went and made an appointment with myself to go to a store because I was so mortified. And I was going to go there at half an hour before they closed so I could get right out of there. And so I took the toy home and I said to my husband, women like me don't know about stuff like this. And I was 45 years old, and I was like, just like so uncomfortable. And he said, well, if you're uncomfortable, other women will be uncomfortable too. You should create a shop where women like you would be comfortable shopping. So it's all because of my husband that I opened the store, and we named it Kama Sutra Closet to begin with, and had to change it to Trystology along the way, about the fifth year. But we did. My husband and I sat there at the kitchen table creating a Yahoo business website, and the rest is history. So we opened the store. I think we did the website in December and opened the store in June of the
Oh,
following
okay.
year.
So
So yeah, yeah,
shortly
yeah,
there's
yeah.
Yeah,
A little
oftentimes things
shop.
arise. Yeah, they arise out of a need, a personal need. You realize, I don't have access to this. I feel some trepidation around this. Wow, this is probably something that other women struggle with, grapple with. Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because then what happened is I ended up, trying the toys, and were really uncomfortable with sharing them with my partner. But then I realized that um, the orgasm was even more intense and the intimacy was stronger. And I was like, whoa, when you do this with a partner, there's this certain level
Hmm.
of discomfort, but with someone I'd been with for 17 years. And yet I thought I had owned my orgasm. I thought I, knew my whole body and I got this. And it really did change. And so, what ended up changing in me, I was a publisher by trade. I did real estate magazines. I was a publisher of the VC Reporter. I launched Ventura Monthly Magazine. I've been in real estate. I've done LA Times publishing. I was a publisher of McGraw Hill. So, none of this is like somebody once asked me, did you always want to own a sex shop? And I'm like, no, forget. So it was
Nope.
just what ended up happening was this empowerment feeling of owning, and the fact that there was no other place for women to go to ask questions. Doctors don't want to answer questions. Not all therapists are comfortable answering questions. Women's sexuality is just
Yeah.
kind of like nobody wants to talk
Yeah.
about it.
It's the
And
Wild West a bit. Yeah.
yeah, and so I thought, you know what? I've been gifted with this ability to speak about this subject without being uncomfortable, because it's not, if I had to do it just for myself, you and I wouldn't probably talk about my sex life, but because I'm doing it out of education and a feeling of empowerment, I can step outside my own discomfort zone to be able to share this information with people.
Yeah. It's true. It's like, okay, there's a larger cause here. There's a business opportunity as well, of course, but I find that, that's why I've kind of shifted my model to some degree to groups, because I feel like people benefit from hearing from other people. And when you've
Yeah.
got other women echoing sort of the doubts or confusion or hesitation that you've felt, but maybe not expressed, or, not necessarily known how to articulate, it's really helpful. And so going into a store, or even being able to pick up the phone and call somebody and ask questions about your particular needs, for sexual wellness, is like
It's
hugely
huge.
different and helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I share my story of discomfort, because like that first couple's toy, the We Vibe, that I ended up buying because I'm like, ooh, a
Hmm.
We Vibe, something we could share together. When I first spoke to my husband about it, he was like, oh, let's do this. And I was like, oh my God, no. And
Right.
I want other women to know this woman that they think is so empowered and all of that, was also the most uncomfortable person between my husband and
Yeah.
I. And so I was
Yeah.
like this little sixth grader asking him, so what do you think? Do you want to maybe would you want to try this We Vibe together? And he was like, sure, that'd be fun. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll do it.
Right. Well, and I
And
think
if
a
they
lot of
know
people,
that
it doesn't
I'm
occur to
that
them, the couples component too is interesting, right? Because I think a lot of people assume that toys are for women only, and to think that, yes, this can be really enhancing, of your sex life together. I
yeah,
think that
well,
would
that's
surprise a lot of people.
yeah, my husband was like, "Oh, are we gonna try that together?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no, this is for me when you're not here. I mean,
Right.
come on." And so then the evolution of me doing the trying it together. I mean, I like to tell the story about how I had a couple glasses of wine that night, and I was like interested, and my husband was already in bed, and I went and I said, "Hi, hi, you want to make love now? Hi." And he's all, no, I'm sleeping. No, I got to go to bed. I got to work tomorrow. And I was mad. I was like, and he says, use a toy. And I was like, fine. I had enough to drink that I was like not self conscious about that, even though we've been together 17
Hmm.
years. And so I used the toy. I had an orgasm in about a minute. He rolled over and said, what the hell was that? We made love that night because it was so easy. And I realized at that moment that I was one
Hmm.
of those 20 to 40-minute women that it took to have an orgasm naturally
Yeah.
with my partner, from foreplay to orgasm, 20 to 40 minutes. And with a toy, all of a sudden I'm like a 1 to 3 minute girl. And my husband's like, okay, this changes things a little bit. So
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah, boy,
game
that's a big
on.
difference. Well, and most women do require about a 15-minute startup, before
Right.
they need that foreplay. And so, of course, the human hand, mouth, whatever, can't really replicate the steadiness and the intensity of a vibrator, So
Correct.
there's just the element of it being new, it being different, it being, you know, sort of the play of that between you or by yourself. So that introduces some
Exactly.
difference
And
too.
what I like to say is, and my book will probably be called this because I'm hopefully going to get that done soon. I've got it mostly written, but it's not done yet. But men are like microwaves, and women are crockpots.
Mm.
So what I like to do is take a woman who is more a crockpot. We need to simmer, we need to work up to
Hmm.
it, whether it's 15, 20 minutes or more, to have an orgasm, versus a male partner, should you be in a male female relationship. But to have, 1 to 3 minutes, a sexual encounter is
Yeah.
only like 6.5 minutes on average. And so
Mhm.
most women aren't having their
Yeah.
orgasms during those
Yeah.
sexual encounters. And so taking a woman from a crock pot to a microwave so that everybody ensures we're all
Mhm.
good, right?
Yes. And also sometimes quicker is not better. But,
Right.
but getting her to a place that feels like really pleasurable is, the goal. And I endorse that strongly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, the thing is it's not always about like a quickie but if you're
Hmm.
statistically um sexual encounters between partners are 6.5 minutes, then
Yeah.
somebody's missing out and it's usually her.
Yes. Yep.
So if we
That's
can
true.
figure out how to have the long and luxurious as well as the
Hmm.
using a toy or not, it doesn't
And
matter.
I love that. I love that comparison, right? The microwave versus the crock pot. Yeah, the slow, kind of steady simmering all day. Yep, that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah,
Okay, so going back,
they
I want
even
to
say, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I wanted to ask, okay, just a couple of questions because I'm kind of curious about because I know there's some customers who have bought online. I give codes sometimes and say, go buy stuff. But what what is the percentage of those that shop online versus those that shop in person? And then also what is the profile of those two shoppers typically?
It's interesting because the majority of our sales are in person. And because I
Mm,
think with the draw for Trystology is about the education. You can touch and feel the toys. We have samples of everything in the store.
mm-hmm.
So everything has an explanation. When someone comes in and says, "What's your best toy?" Which you're probably going to ask me today. And I'm going to say, "For what?" And so
Hmm.
it's really like an individual, personalized shopping experience when someone
Yeah.
comes in and stands in front of what we call our vibrary, the vibrary with all of the vibrators on it. And they, are standing there overwhelmed with, I try not to have too many choices, but it is kind of a personalized
Because
business.
it's not a one size fits all. It's not a one,
No.
some people like the warming, some people like the vibration, some people don't want that at all. Some people want to insert, some people don't, right? So it's really
Yeah.
up
It
to
is so
individual likes.
individual. Yeah, yeah. And not
Hmm.
all vibration is created equal. Not all experience. Like I have a couple in front of me and I'm like, so you want a toy? Yes. What's the purpose? Well, we want to play together. Okay. Is it for her to use alone, her to use together, you to use on her? How are we
Hmm.
going to be playing? And it's almost like I get a little intimate with people because I have to
Yeah.
know my brain is interesting because it's a creative problem solving brain. So tell me
Yeah.
what you need, and then I'm going to figure out what tool you need for the
And that
job.
puts people a little bit on the spot to think about what are we doing here, right? The goal isn't just purely orgasm. The goal is pleasure, hopefully. And what does pleasure mean to you? What does pleasure look like? Because that'll guide us kind of reverse engineer then what toy is likely to lead you there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because uh I had a conversation once with a couple where I said, there's a lot of pressure on men to ensure you have an orgasm. And she looked at me and I said, yeah, because our society, says your partner gives you the pleasure. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the pleasure, then it's their fault, whoever your partner is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she looked at her husband of, 40 years and she goes, do you feel that pressure? And he's all, yeah. And so it is a really interesting dynamic for people to learn and talk
Yeah.
about their intimacy, what their needs are, and how these tools, as I call them, can
Yeah.
support and help them with their goals.
Because it isn't, yeah, I like that framing too, because it's not like it replaces sex. I feel like sometimes that narrative gets introduced of like, that this is going to be instead of sex. And I think it's enhancement, right? It's a tool in
Exactly.
the toolbox that can be really lovely for both one or both partners. Yeah.
Yeah. And how are we going to play? You're not just going to get for your toolbox in the house. You're not just going to have a hammer. because you might need a
Right.
screwdriver and you might need a sander and you might need a saw. So it's the same thing with the vibrators, with play toys, sensual products for passionate play, as I call them. You might want a clitoral toy. You might want an air suction tool. You may want something that you can use during lovemaking to ensure she has an orgasm without numbing. You may want a back massager, like a wand style tool, but using it in different ways because of a larger surface area. You could use it on him or her. So there are all different ways in which you can play. And, you know, I don't know about you, but me for sure, my moods and my needs and my desires can ebb and flow. And so today I might want an air suction tool, but tomorrow I might want an oscillating clitoral vibrator, you know, because more stress
Right.
today, I need something that's stronger, you know, more relaxed.
Yep.
Tomorrow I want something a little more gentle. And so it is really kind of enlightening to figure out what your body needs, what is you're attracted to, and how you and your partner can play together.
I love that. Yeah, because it really is, it's not a fixed, hopefully, it's not a fixed dynamic, right? You try different things on
Right.
different days, you explore, you might feel more inclined. And also thinking outside of just the vibration or the pressure, like there's lots and lots of toys. You know, I do a segment during the Pleasure Circle, which is a 6-week intensive that I offer. And one of those weeks is about toys, and that includes blindfolds, that includes nipple clamps, that includes, right, anal stimulation, that includes lots of different things because
Massage
different
oil
people like,
candles and things like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What would you say? Because I do get asked, because I see a lot of couples, what's a great, or what are a few ideas on couples toys, like toys that can really benefit both partners
So,
in
and I
play?
didn't bring a sample of that one, but okay, I have like 3 that are standard that I kind of talk to couples about. One would be like the We Vibe. So it's a toy that's like shaped like this, that is a remote controlled tool that actually hits the clitoris and the G spot at the same time, and that if you have a male partner, he can enter and press up onto the G spot, and both partners share in the vibration. It's
Mm-hmm.
also something she can wear out to dinner, and her partner can have a remote control, and
Mm-hmm.
they can play like that. I like to tease that during a football game, you know, he has the remote and says, "What do you mean I'm not paying attention to you?" You know, she's got her vibrator going because he's got the remote. So that's one, the We Vibe, and there's a number of levels of We Vibe and remote control toys. Another type of toy I do happen to have would be kind of like a vibrator that goes around the penis. If we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about heterosexual male
Mm-hmm.
female,
Mm-hmm.
though this can be used as a finger vibe as well, or an insertable as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just one of those. This is a Tenga vibrating ring. So this could be a clitoral toy that restricts the blood flow for him. It can also be used as a vibrating on the testicles, but also
Mm-hmm.
doggy style. This is how you actually
Oh, yeah.
wear
Okay.
during doggy style, because it'll hit the clitoris this way.
Yeah.
So, and this is
That
one
whole,
that you
yeah,
could,
that whole lineup. Would,
yep,
yeah,
yeah.
gives that
And
perineum. Yeah.
then, yep. And then you could also use this. I always pretend like this is the perineum behind the testicles, and you
Mm-hmm.
can take something like this and use this on the perineum. You can
Uh-huh.
use this on the
Right. Because
penis.
they're sensitive. That whole area is super sensitive.
Yep.
That bridge between the anus and
Yep.
the vulva.
And
Yeah.
so I like a tool like this that you could kind of use for a number of different ways to play. The same with kind of one of these, which is this one is the Touch by We Vibe. And what I like is um, touch is our most basic sense of intimacy. So whether you've been with someone for a very short time or someone a very long time, introducing like a massage oil candle or massage oils, and then
Mm-hmm.
taking a vibrator and then massaging on the body,
Mm.
anywhere
Mm-hmm.
on the body,
Oh,
warm
that's
massage
interesting.
oils. And then this can go on the clitoris. Oh, let me show you, because like we've got a
It adds,
vulva. So on the
right.
clitoris, you can use it on the labia to wake up the body. You can use this on the perineum. You can use this on a penis. So see how the curve on this one is, and then
Yeah.
it's round. So with a massage oil candle, your women, I've learned, love the pressing and the firm massages, and men like it a little bit softer and gentler. So a tool like this, especially someone starting out, they're like, I don't know, is this really something for me? Use it for a massage tool and then just be done, or you can try it on the clitoris or try it on the labia or try it on the penis, the perineum. See how round it is there? It's soft. But when you
So
press like that, it'll go up to the prostate and the perineum.
yeah.
And that's the
So
male G
also, just
spot.
because on the podcast, people aren't going to be able to see these things. So let's describe them a little bit. Like, yeah.
Okay. On the podcast. Okay. So this particular one is a more simple vibrator that is curved a little at the end. It's about 4 inches long and about 1.5 inches wide. And it has multiple vibrations. It's rounded with a little bit more pointy tip. It's called the WeVibe Touch. I think they're the Touch X now. They've been around for a while, but I've been mixing them with like a Jimmy Jane Afterglow candle, which is massage oil candles can be hotter. So I like to make sure I find ones that burn a little bit cooler. And so the Afterglow candles have always been great. I think the newer ones by Jimmy Jane and in a pink format seem a little bit hotter to me. So I like the older ones in the white pour spouts. We still have some of those left, but I don't know if they're making those anymore. But massage oil candles that have soy that don't burn too hot. So I think it's important to just have a vibrating tool that is, it can be the shape of a pebble, a stone kind of thing, where you can massage and rub somebody with it. It's harder to do with kind of a wand style tool, so it's something you can hold in your hand and massage with.
I think too, we'll link all of these toys that you mentioned. We'll link it in the show notes. So if anybody's interested and they want to see it, they can link it.
Great, thank you.
So how do you work with a shy customer?
So it's so cute because I've had shy customers that come in, like I had these women in their 60s. They would pop in and then they'd walk out and then they come back 8 minutes later and then they walk out and then they walk in again. So they said, well, I've never talked to anyone like this before. And so for me, it's just a lot of the language we use is just scientific terminology. So no slang terminology. And then I ask simply kind of, what are we looking for? Well, I'm having trouble with this. Well, I want to try that. And so I've had like a customer that came in, and this isn't a shy one, but someone who was having a challenge. And she says, and I hear it a lot, I'm broken, or I haven't been able to have an orgasm for 6 months since I had this surgery. And this actually is one of the tools that I do recommend for couples as well, but for solo as well. Both of these are Zoomios, is what they're called. And one is got a flat head that can cup over the clitoris. And the other one has got a silicone tipped head. And so this gal said, I haven't had an orgasm in 6 months and I just don't know what to do. And so this oscillates versus vibrating. And so there's no numbing sensation. And so a lot of people say it's like a toothbrush or something, like what do you call them? Like a electric toothbrush. But this oscillates means it goes in circles. And so even though it has a really strong vibration, it is no numbing, which anybody who's a power girl, I call it self-proclaimed power girl that likes vroom, vroom kind of toys, a lot of power toys. But this particular tool's claim to fame is an orgasm in 60 seconds. So that's a big deal, right? And not a lot of people want necessarily an orgasm in 60 seconds, but someone like me who's always on the go and wants to have an orgasm a day philosophy, I'm like, yeah, let's have some orgasm a day, 1 minute, let's go. And release that oxytocin endorphins. Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it's a quick thing. It's you want to go to sleep. You want to kind of, shift gears. You want to reward, whatever. It's like
when you wake up at 2 in the morning and you can't sleep and your brain's just going on, have an orgasm. It releases the oxytocin endorphins and you'll be able to sleep better. I just swear by it. So
I
So
love it.
this tool, let me just share with you about this tool. One last
Hmm.
thing. I love that it fits between the bodies during lovemaking. It's flat. I know people on the podcast can't see it, but I've got it right between my fingers, and it's long enough to just hit the clitoris. So that gal who said she hadn't had an orgasm in 6 months, I sent her home with a Zoomio. I sent her home with an air suction tool, the Womanizer Premium. Those are
Hmm.
my two go-tos, completely different. One is like oral sex, it replicates oral sex. And
Right.
the
A
other one
womanizer.
is this
Hmm.
oscillating tool that it can be very firm, can be very strong, and can push you past that block, whatever that mental, emotional, physical block of being able to have that orgasm. And then she called me in 30 minutes from getting home in Oakview and said,
Right.
woo, yes. I
Done.
was like,
Mission
so my
accomplished. That's great.
my my job is so rewarding when I know that I can help people with this really
Yeah,
important aspect of their emotional,
it is
physical needs.
so important. It is such a, reclamation sometimes for women, especially who've had challenges with achieving, orgasm. And orgasm is not the only goal, but it's an awfully nice, result sometimes.
Right. And I just
Um,
had a 20-something-year-old come in, and she actually came in with a 60-year-old friend. And so the two of them were playing. She was 27, and her friend, they'd gone to a wedding the night before. And she says, well, I've never had an orgasm. And I was
oh,
like, really? Okay. So this was all about kind of her first conversation about never having had a vibrator, never having had an orgasm. And her friend just sat there. She was just like, okay, we're here for you. We're going to talk to you. We're going to share with you. And she ended up getting a wand, this one, in fact,
hmm.
the wand, it's called Lay Wand, Feel Your Power. And it's got like all these women empowerment. It's purple. It's as big as the back massager, the Hitachi wand, maybe even bigger.
Uh-huh.
And in the end, she discovered that that's the one she was drawn to. Not
Hmm.
everybody wants a wand that big and that bold for their first toy, but she was like, no, no. After all of these, seeing these
Right.
smaller toys, this, that, and the other, that's the one I want. So it's really interesting to kind of do that delicate dance with, as I'm talking about
Mhm.
orgasms in this, to have someone say to
Well,
you they've never had one.
and also something that comes up when people are asking questions about toys is, there's a giant price range, and like what determines quality, and how, do you get more if you pay more?
So it's interesting. I am a big believer of like discreet, classy, healthful body toys, waterproof, because women usually
Mhm.
can't get any private time unless they're in their bathtub or the shower, and even then, there's no guarantee of that. So all of my choices for buying for the store have to do with healthful. So silicone, high grade, platinum grade silicones, no vulgar packaging, nothing on the cover that is demeaning to women, or any sexual preference, or gender identity. And I also, like when Womanizer came out with their first air suction tool, they were $249 and $99. And then what
Mhm.
really pissed me off is that the $99 was selling so well that the 249 weren't. And so they took it off the market until people bought the 249s. And so what I did as a vendor is like, okay, well, let's see what other brands are out there that are in the cheaper price point, because I don't think people that are in a $69 or $89 price point should be priced out of the air suction tool market, because I'm a
Yeah.
big believer that oral sex is one of the ways that most women can achieve an orgasm. And if you can have oral sex by yourself with a tool like this one,
Hmm.
then you should be able to have it. So I was able to kind of figure out what tools could help replicate the
Yeah.
same feeling. I'm a big believer in womanizer tools, right? Just so you know, the $199 premium is my favorite, as well as the duo, which is the internal, and for $219. Those are my favorite tools. But I also, this is a $42 one that Womanizer is mixed with WeVibe now. They are the same company, and this is called the Romp, and it's a Romp one that you can travel with. $42. I'm going to tell
that's
people
so reasonable. Yeah.
$42, and it's one of the only tools that actually seems to feel like, I know you can't hear it, but the same kind of suction sound that you get from the Womanizer, the original Womanizer, or the $99 Womanizer, and they've put it into a $42 toy. So for me, yes, I can get you $299 toys and $219 and $199, but I also am really conscious of high quality. So the Romp has got really nice silicone, and it's discreet, it's small, it's got a cap for if it's in your purse, it'll stay clean, in your travel bag, your cosmetic bag. But you know, I can also get you the $40, $50, and $60 versions of it, and everywhere in between, because I'm really trying to, and not all air suction are created equal. I mean, I have found that a couple of the air suction tools felt like vacuum cleaners to me, and I'm like, oral sex is not a vacuum cleaner.
What do you think about, because I've seen glass, I've seen, you know, more of the hard stones, like for, you know, insertion, more for like, you know, dildos.
Or non-vibrating versions.
They don't offer vibration. Yeah. What do you think about those?
I think they're fabulous. So glass and steel and stone can all be warmed to body temperature or chilled. And so the smoothness of glass and the ability to have it
it's non-porous, right?
It's non-porous, it's hygienic, it is healthful. So a lot of people are afraid of glass, but let's just say it's going to take 1,000 pounds of Kegel pressure to break any glass, and it's all like Pyrex glass. So if you've ever dropped Pyrex, it doesn't break. There's still a fear of shattering, you know, which is never going to happen. So just be reassured. Oh my God, I just forgot that. Shock Rubs. Shock Rubs is one of our favorite brands, where we have like rose quartz and obsidian and rabbit jade, all these different types of stones in slim and fuller versions with, you know, so we really have been supportive of, you know, getting the stones for healing, but also stones for, you know, sensual products for playing together. And so I think that they're really great. So not everybody needs vibration. You can still use an insertable tool with a clitoral tool. And, you know, it just, sometimes
it's a different kind of, it's a different
experience.
Quality of touch and feel. Yeah. What about lubrication?
Easier toys are like this, where you have the dual stimulation. But once you understand what your body likes, and if you like a Zumio and you want shock rubs, then they're easier to kind of work together. I heard you say lubricants.
Yes, because lubrication comes up a lot. And I know there's so many options, right? There's just a lot out there on the market. So talk a little bit about why somebody would choose one category versus another. Obviously water versus.
Yeah, and so one thing that you haven't brought up would also be the kind of societal expectation of women and lubrication. You know, some people say, my woman doesn't need any lubrication, you know, she's, you know, but here's the thing. I've had 20-year-olds that can't have lubrication, and I have, you know, 50-year-olds who are, you know, having issues with their hormones and aren't, you know, my sister-in-law says, you're still juicy. I mean, that's just kind of this expectation at a certain age, things happen. But the reality is that everybody needs lubrication. Everybody. If you don't want it to be awkward, and if you don't want to have that like sliding down the slide with your skin catching kind of feeling,
Right.
use lubes, right?
Well, and even
So
in couples where lubrication is possible, if you have longer lovemaking, the lubrication's got to run out, right? The
right,
woman can't
exactly.
keep just producing it and producing it, like your body can't keep up. So there's no shame in lubrication. Lubrication
No
is your
shame in
friend.
lubrication. Absolutely. It is your friend. So here's a couple things. There's water-based lubricants, which you will want to use with some toys if you don't know the quality of your toy. And that's a recommendation that most toy companies will say just use water-based lubes. Water-based
Yeah.
lubes replicate the body fluids. And so they can be really nice and people are drawn to them. But here's the thing, if you're using it on a penis, the penis is exposed to the air, water and air, they dry out, period. And
Right. They absorb
so
the.
if you're,
Mhm.
yeah. So if you're using it on a penis and all that air is going back and forth, then all of a sudden it's starting to pill and dry and you're like, ew, this is kind of, no. So I always recommend either using like an oil base, like a coconut oil with CBD is one of the things that we're selling now with Faria. We have silicone, a silicone and water. The thing I ask you to do is look at your lube and see what the ingredients are. If your ingredients start with alcohol, which I think some of the original KY jellies and things like that
Mhm.
have, you don't want alcohol because alcohol is drying. So Uber Lubes are number one seller, and it's silicone and vitamin E. So that's it. You can lick it, you can rub with it, you can massage with
Right,
it,
because
you can play
also
with the penis. Yeah,
the pH balance inside you is different, right? So you got to be
right.
careful about what you're putting in there, or it affects women's
Yeah.
internal health. Yeah, so it
So what I
matters.
say is use like a silicone, like an Uber Lube, and you can get all sorts of brands. We carry Pure. We have Woman's Pure, which is lighter. We've got a thicker version as well for Pure silicone, and the Uber Lube, which is our number one. But we also have Sutil. So Sutil is, and we've got Good Clean Love, which is aloe vera based. But the Sutil has
Mhm.
become our second most popular. We ship it all over the United States. They come in from Canada, and it's got hyaluron in it. So hyaluronic acid is what
Mhm.
we've used in our face creams.
Mhm.
It's regenerative for that part of our body. It creates a water-based cushion on the tissue, which is kind of protective, which they're also using it in anal lubricants as well to, of course, create that tissue, protection of the tissue for anal sex. And so I recommend using the Sutil, whether it's the Pure, which is just mostly botanicals, or the Lux, which is got horny goatweed. I just like saying
Mhm.
horny goatweed, and ginseng in it for more stimulating, and it's thicker. So especially for anal, you want thick lube that stays where it's supposed to go instead of a thinner lube that'll just fall, drip away from where you need it. So the Sutil I recommend for vaginal or anal, and the Uber Lube for penis play. And then when you mix the two of them together, then you're getting a water silicone based lubricant, two of my best products that are together, and so it lasts longer. So the
Mhm.
Uber Lube will infuse the water based lube with silicone, and then of course the water based lube will get the
Mhm.
Uber Lube more moisture. So it's kind of like a way I like to have people play together.
So if you have a better quality toy though, that's like a silicone based toy, is that going to be okay using that? Um,
Uber Lube.
with
Oh yeah.
yeah, with
So
oil based.
so here's the thing. Every toy that I have, I use with Uber Lube
Okay.
personally because the quality of the toys that I'm buying. This is a
Hmm.
$129 toy. It's got the platinum grade silicone, and so I
Hmm.
use it with Uber Lube.
Hmm.
So I haven't had any issue with my toys with Uber Lube, and I pretty much say if anybody uses something they bought from Trystology with Uber Lube, there may be one or two toys that might be a little bit lower grade that I wouldn't recommend it with, but for the most part, 98% of our toys can be used with Uber Lube. I would say it's okay to use it
It
with
holds up fine.
silicone. Yep.
Okay, great. So much of this conversation has been probably a little geared towards women or women paired with men. Are there any nuances about working with same-sex female or same-sex male couples that would be relevant to discuss?
Yeah, and I think, you know, even with the We Vibe, where we're saying that it goes in and the penis can press up, there's also the ability to just share the vibration with a female partner as well. And pretty much
Mm-hmm.
all of our tools can be used female on female as well. We also do have, for those that are interested in having, you know, harnesses and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
The harnesses are not just for women and men. They're women with women. They're, you know, men with men. There's dual penetration with some of our different.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't necessarily a gender, you know, specific use for all of our tools. We do tend to have more female on female or female with male
Mm-hmm.
or multiple partnered couples come in. We do have some male on male that come in, but I think that the store comes off as more of a female centric or couple centric uh, store. So we do try and find products for everyone. And so whether they're under the bed restraints or, you know, bloggers
Mm-hmm.
or harnesses or dildos or vibrators, we have prostate stimulators for men.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do have and cater to all gender orientations. We have pronoun stickers for the store so that everybody feels heard and respected. And
Mm-hmm.
we do try and work with everyone's unique situation.
Awesome. I love that because walking in and trying to talk about something as personal as your sex life, you know, your identity definitely needs to be respected and also kind of a non-issue, right? So it's like you can
Right.
unpack this and your erotic template can just sort of be unfolded and like, okay, like we're looking at it with some practical curiosity of like how best can we help you, you know, be turned on.
Exactly. My
Yeah.
favorite thing has been we have had packers where transgender have been able to finally feel whole, which has been
Mm-hmm.
so rewarding. I have had and been at there when female couples have discovered their desire to experiment together and figure
Mm-hmm.
out their personal needs and things like that. And so it really, the thing about Trystology, it really is a safe space for everyone to be able to come into the store. And there have been occasions where someone came into the store and said, I'm really uncomfortable. And I said, okay, do you want me to close the door? And she said, yes. And once I closed the door and locked it so that no one else could come in during the time that she was there, she was able to breathe and relax and discuss how she felt like she was broken. And her husband went to pay money at the meter. And she was able to share with me some things that she wouldn't have been able to or felt comfortable sharing in front of him. And I'm able to dispel the myth that women have
Mm-hmm.
orgasms just because a penis goes in the vagina, because if you're not hitting the G spot or the
Oh,
clitoris, that may not be happening. And so we're able to
of
really
course.
kind of unpack all that.
So empowering, right? It's like getting and thinking outside of just this is a vibrator store, right? You just mentioned a whole lot of stuff that I'm guessing customers won't totally, people who are on it will know, but like packers for one, or
Yeah.
restraints, or, you know, any sort of anal play is kind of, you know,
Taboo.
not so
Nobody talks
mainstream.
about it.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
know, I know.
And
And men really enjoy that. I mean, that's the prostate is like full of, you know, feel good. So,
well, yeah, let me speak to that for just a second because it is really unsettling that even, you know, doctors think that if a man wants prostate stimulation, he must be gay, right? And so it's
right.
not at all the fact.
No.
I had a gal who came in many years ago when we were in the little upstairs store in the El Jardín courtyard, and her husband wanted prostate stimulation. He's a big firefighter, and she's from Georgia and the South. They just happened to be visiting, and she was like having an emotional challenge because
Yeah.
she wasn't sure whether this was okay. Like she was still kind of
Hmm.
vacillating. And I think the thing for her was that she didn't feel feminine and sexy while she was wearing a traditional harness. And so I showed her how we had these beautiful spare parts harnesses that were lingerie, and you can have little garters, and you look really sexy in them. And all she went into the bathroom, tried it on, and she came out like, this is all right. Let's do this. And she said,
Right.
my mother told me that whatever happens between my husband and I is okay, but now I feel like I'm
Yeah.
really a part of it and I can own it. And so those kind that to be able to dispel any societal expectation, a cultural norm that makes people feel uncomfortable. There's so many ways that people are shamed for their desires and sexuality, and we really are here to help dispel and release any of those societal, cultural, religious, familial shaming that people can take with them when they explore their sexuality.
I love that. I feel like this is such a tripwire sometimes for people. They think about how they typically approach sex and there's sort of a go-to routine, but this is an opportunity to interrupt that and to kind of shake things up a bit and try some new things and let yourself go a little bit and imagine like what might be hot. Maybe you like restraint, or maybe um, you want to try some textural stuff, or like I feel like there's lots and lots of different points of entry, should I
Right.
say, you know?
Yes,
And
exactly.
so literally. So I yeah, I'm just really glad we got to finally have this conversation, because I know we've been talking for years, and so I'm glad that we finally got to have you on the
Yes.
show.
Well, one thing about that sensual play thing, we have this vibrator that's in the shape of a feather. And
Mm,
the first time that my manager saw it, she's like, "Oh, this is terrible. We should just send this back." I said, "Really? Okay. Well, that's not what I thought." And she's all, "What do you mean?" And so I took it, turned it on to the second vibe. It's flat in the shape of a feather. And so I took it along her arm and just lightly touched it all the way down to her fingers. And she was like, "Oh." She took it home that night. She bought one right then
yeah,
and there. And so, it's an
yeah,
experience when you can have something soft and sensual and playful and blindfold, which enhances, so even something as simple as that can
yeah.
change
Well,
the
there's
dynamic.
I mean, there's sensory, there's erotic zones everywhere, right? It's not just the genitals by far. And
Right.
so thinking wider, and you know, especially for those folks having maybe some erectile dysfunction, or there's lots of other options that can be really satisfying and connecting to keep up a vibrant sex life.
Absolutely. And one of the things, just to touch on your erectile dysfunction, Hot Octopus
Mhm.
has the Pulse and the Pulse Duo, and it's a tapping toy that actually it's very much like, this is one of my favorite tools as well. And I've got this one here, but the Hot Octopus Pulse taps the a penis, so you can take it on the frenulum, or not
Mhm.
the frenulum, or down the penis. You can stroke with it, and even if you have erectile dysfunction or have problems with erections or holding erections, you are able to have an orgasm or receive that pleasure, even if the penis is flaccid. And so it's
Mm, great.
such a great tool to be able to use. And this particular toy is, God, the arouser is what they call it. And it
Mhm.
taps the clitoris very much in the same way that the Hot Octopus Pulse taps the frenulum and the penis. So, anyways,
Something for everybody. I love it.
there is. I just wanted to make sure you knew that, because
Yeah.
it is important to know that no matter what your body is going through, and just because you had great sex in your 20s or in your 30s or in your 40s, doesn't mean sex in your 60s, 70s, or 80s isn't going to be
Absolutely.
amazing. I had a client who called me. He, shared with me his 80-year-old girlfriends and his, 89-year-old, bodies issues that they were all having. And he says, we're having the best sex ever. And I'm like, this is amazing, that he, uses the Erosilator, which is another oscillating tool, and they just have the best fun together, and they're playing into their 80s and 90s. So it doesn't have to end.
All right. So you can find Roylin at Trystology.com. And she's on Instagram, she's on Facebook, and she's, of course, at the store in Ventura, California, if you're on this side of the world. So please find her, and we will link, like I said, we'll link all the toys that she mentioned. And thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Well, it was really, really fun. I really appreciate you spreading the word and sexual empowerment. So I will make sure we get you a list of all the toys and the links.
Great.